Everyone, welcome back to Omnistudio Flexcard session. In this session, we'll see how we can use Apex remote data source in Flexcards. So let's just get started. I'll first go ahead and create a Flexcard. So let's just say test Apex remote. I'll click on it. For now, I'll just keep it none and I'll hit on save. So before we get started, let's first understand that when do we use Apex Remote data source? So basically, Apex Remote is used when you need to invoke an Apex method directly from the cards, typically for more complex logic or data manipulations that cannot be handled by simple SQL queries. That is when you would want to access the Apex class and get into the Apex method so that you can get the results of any type of data manipulations or calculations that you would have done in your Apex method. All right. So if you see here under setup, if you actually choose the data source as Apex remote, it will ask you for remote class and remote method. All right. So let's just go ahead and create a class. All right. So I have opened my developer console and I'll go ahead and create an Apex class. So let me give the name as demo Apex remote. Apex remote. This is the class name that I'm giving. And I'll be implementing two use cases. The first use case is I am going to query account data. That's a very plain use case. I will not put any conditions. I'm simply going to query like 5 or 10 account records, and I will try to access that method in our flex cards and display the data. The second use case that I will be covering is to calculate total expected revenue on opportunities. So basically, I would be passing one parameter, account ID, from the flex card. So on that particular account, whatever opportunities are associated, let's say there are 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is, the logic is going to check the amount value for all the opportunities and it is going to calculate the total and it's going to return the result. And that is what I would try and display on the flex card. All right. So let's just go ahead and get started. First, understand what would be the structure of such a class that you would want to access from any of the Omni Studio components, right? Let it be OmniScript or let it be flex cards. All right. So here the basic structure is, first of all, it has to be a global class. All right. Otherwise, you will create the class, you will save everything, but in your flex card, every time you'll get the error that class not found. All right, so let's just make it global and it has to be with or without sharing. So I'm just creating a class global with sharing. All right, so this is the first thing. The second step is that it has to implement velocity open interface. All right, so implements, and after implements, before I directly write the interface name, I also need to specify the namespace, right? So I'll go here and I have navigated to my installed packages. So you just have to go to the installed packages and you have to find your package, all right? Here you can see the namespace prefix. So just copy the namespace prefix and then go back here. Just type in dot velocity open interface. All right. So this is the first thing that you would have to do. It has to be global with or without sharing. And then it has to implement this interface. And you have to include the namespace, then the interface. Otherwise, it won't work. If you exclude this, right, it will not work. Because all these interfaces and all these built-in classes of the managed package reside under this. So you have to specify this. All right. Now, the second thing that comes in picture is that this particular interface has a method, right? It has something sort of like a main method, which is called invoke method. So every time you implement an interface, you also have to implement the method that has been defined in the interface. All right, so I'll go here and I'm going to define the method. This is something that you can also go ahead and copy from the documentation. So I'll just type it for now. Now this expects few parameters. So for that, I have already opened a link for the documentation. All right. And from here, I'm just going to copy all the parameters that it expects. So basically it expects you to pass the method name, then the input map, output map, and if there are any additional options, right? So I'm just going to copy all of it. Don't worry about it, you'll understand, right? It's very simple. So for example, let me just copy this here, paste this here first. So this one, as in, like, if let's say if this particular class has multiple methods, right? You have written method 1, 2, 3, 4, and also, like, all the other math, like all different methods would have different, like, input parameters. And if you want to, like, set different kind of output, right? And if you have any additional options, any additional configurations that you want to do. So that is why these four options are provided. That's point number one. Point number two is you are going to define all the methods which you want to invoke inside this. And then after you just mention all the methods, you can implement the methods below this. So implement all your methods below this, but you have to invoke the method inside this method, which is standard method of this interface. All right. So like, let's just take first method first. I'll invoke it later. Let me just write a method to display the account details, right? So private void, and I'm just taking a method name as display accounts. All right. And then here as well, same parameters, right? So it will take the, because I need the same parameters, correct? So, so that you can set, like, the input, output, and if there are any options. So that sort of thing you can pass. All right. So this is the method name. And here, what do I want to do? I just want uh, to query account data. So yes. So let's say list of accounts. All right. And then here, I'll just say select ID, name from account, and I'll just put a limit, let's say 10. All right. And now I have the list of accounts in this variable, right? And what can I do? I can simply return, right? Return the value of this. So I would just, but I have to set that, right? I have to set that in out map. As I told you, right, that any sort of input parameters, because when you will be calling this method from your flex card, you are going to provide all of it. So basically that the JSON that you would see, right? So for example, whatever you set in the out map, right? Let's say if you're setting something as a result variable, so that is what is going to get set in the JSON. And whatever parameter value you would be passing from the flex card, that is something that can be set into this, right? So don't worry, you'll understand. So let me just go ahead and type it out. So I already have, because the query I have already written, right? And there are no conditions, no parameters, nothing. So I already have the result into this. I just have to set that result into outmap. All right. So here outmap dot put. All right. And here I'll just define a variable as result, so that in flexcard, when I execute this method, I will, in the JSON, I will see the result of all these accounts under this node. All right. That is what I'm setting here. So results, and then under result, what do you want to have? List of account. All right. So this. So this method is done. Now what do we have to do? We have to invoke this method, correct? So here I have to write if method name, because I want to include one more method, right? Like the expected, sorry, the amount, total amount calculation of opportunity. So for this one, I'm just giving if method name is equals to, what is the method name? Display accounts, correct? So if method name is equals to display accounts, then what do I want? I want to invoke this method. So I will invoke this method, and what and all parameters this method is expecting. The method name. So first of all, I need to pass the method name here. So method name, and after that, input map, output map, and options. So input map, if you don't provide all the parameters, then it will start giving you that, like, it won't match, right, with the number of parameters. So it will start giving you error. So out map, it will say that it's the method is not defined. And then options. All right. So, and after this, okay. All right. After this, I can simply, no, there's some error. What is this? if math, okay, sorry, this is supposed to end here. Okay, so here after that, this is the return type is boolean, right? And I'll say return true. All right, so now let's just go ahead and go back to the flex card and try accessing this method and see if we are getting the list of accounts or not. So I'll go back. Uh, this is the flex card that we created, right? So first we would have to refresh this so that we should be able to we'll be able to see the class because we just created it. And what is the class name? The class name is demo apex remote. So we'll go to setup and data source would be apex remote. Apex remote. Remote class name is this, right? And what is the method name? So the method name is display accounts. So I'll go here and here I'll just type in display accounts. All right. And I don't have any, I'm not passing anything, right? No parameters. So I'll just go ahead and click on save and fetch. So let's see the JSON. So here you see, right? And this is the result node I was talking about, right? So wherever you have set it, right, you will be seeing the list of accounts. So if you see it is giving me, I put a limit of 10. So it is returning me 10 accounts, ID name, because these are the two fields that I have queried. You can ignore these because every time you query, I mean, in the JSON, right, if you query here, these are some additional information that it always sends, with attributes. So for this, you can, there are other things to that we can do in order to exclude this, but we can see that in some other session. For now, you can only focus on that, okay, this is the node and these are the 10 account information, ID and name, which it is giving back. All right, so simple, right? Now let's just go ahead and see the second scenario, because in the second scenario, I want to pass a parameter. All right, so first of all, I'll go ahead and write a method to calculate the total amount value or total expected revenue from opportunities. But for that, I will pass an account ID. So all the opportunities associated to that account, only for those opportunities, it should execute, the logic should execute. So let's just start writing the other methods. So private void, and then let's say calculate, calculate total revenue, maybe this, and same thing. Let's just copy this and paste it here. And under this, first of all, I want to, so where from the flex card, I would be passing the account ID, right? And where we have input map for that. So I need to receive that, right? So I'm just going to define a variable here, account ID, and I will be getting it from input map, right? So input map, let me just copy this, input map dot get, and here the variable that I'm defining, this is something which I will define in my flex card and provide a value. All right, and that is what I'm trying to receive into this so that I can query the opportunities and calculate the value. All right, so this, and this will be in string, so let's just, all right, so now I have the account ID, correct? Now I will query the opportunities. So opportunity, then list ops. So here I just have to query the amount. So select amount from opportunity where account ID, right? So where, sorry, where the standard field on opportunities account ID, where account ID is equals to colon the dynamic value, right? We are passing the dynamic value account ID, correct? Now we have the all the like for one particular account, we have all the opportunity and their respected amounts in this list. Now what do we have to do? We have to calculate the total, right? So let's just define something to store total value. So total, I'm just initiating it to 0. And then okay, we would have to loop through the opportunity. So for opportunity. From all the opportunities, I'll just keep on summing up the amount. All right. So total plus here, what is it? Op amount, right? So I'll just put a condition if the amount is not null. Okay. So here, dot amount, if this is not equals to null, right? Then only it will take, otherwise it will take op. I mean, if it is not null, then it will take op amount. All right. Otherwise it will take 0. Okay. And then after this, outmap, right? We have to set the value in result in outmap. So outmap. So, okay, this ends here, right? So this ends here, this loop, and then outmap dot put. For this also, I'm setting up the node as result. And then here, what is the total? The total, right? So this is the total. All right. Now we have to invoke this method as well. So first of all, let's just go ahead and we can simply copy this and then we'll just change the here, and then the method name is calculate total revenue, calculate total revenue, calculate total revenue, right? Is there anything else that we should be providing? I don't think so. So let's just go ahead and try to access this method. Now in your flex card, if you want to access this method, it's not saved yet. All right, so if you want to access this method, then you have to change the method name, right? So calculate total revenue. And if I go back to the flex card, first of all, let me just refresh this. We'll go to setup. And under setup, we already have the Apex class name, but the method, this is not the method that we want to access now, right? This is the one. And this method also expects a parameter, right? So let's just go back. And what was the parameter? So this was, right? Account ID. Not a, okay, sorry, account ID. I'll just copy this. And here in the input map, I'll provide account ID and I'll go ahead and let me go to an account. For example, global media. I'll just take the account ID and paste it here. So now if I execute this, I should be able to see the total, total amount value for all the opportunities that associated with this account in what node here in result, right? So let's just go back and save and fetch. Let's go to JSON. What happened? This is still accessing the first one. So account ID, calculate total revenue, save and fetch. No, let me refresh. Hold on. This is the method name. I think it's correct. Calculate total revenue. So we should be changing this as well, right? We didn't change this. That's why it's not working. Let's just save this and go back to the flex card and refresh this again. Set up this and this. Let's just save and fetch. So yeah, here you see the result. It's summing up the amount value and it's giving the result back. Right. And after this, if you want to display the result over here, then you can go to build and let me just include like a text over here. And in the text, you just have to provide so the result is, okay, result, yep. And it's giving us the value. Similarly, if I am not using this one, but I'm rather using the other method, right, which was display account. So if it was this one, I'm not sure, it's working very slow. I'll just type it, display accounts. All right, and here I would have to remove this. I'm doing this so that I can show you, like, to display this in a tabular format. But for tabular format, I need to remove this node. So JSON path result. Let's see if we are getting the data. Perfect, right? So here after this, what you can do is go back to build. You can simply use a data table. It will display the results. What happened? Let's just see preview. Yeah, we are getting the result, right, in the tabular format. So basically, these were the two ways how you can use Apex Remote as a data source in your Flexcard. All right, the first example that we saw was without a parameter. The second example, the second use case that we saw was with a parameter, right? So basically, if I summarize everything, in order to implement this, all you have to do is you need to create a class. It has to be global with or without sharing. And the class should be implementing Velocity open interface, and do not forget to add the namespace. All right. And after that, the invoke method, you need to implement the invoke method. And invoke method basically, it is serving as the entry point for calling other methods, right? That is how you're invoking other methods. So for example, here display accounts method returns a list of account, and the calculate revenue method is actually calculating the total revenue, and it is returning the result. So basically both the methods are using SQL to query Salesforce data and returning the result through outmap, because we are setting the result in outmap, right? Which is accessible to the flexcard or Omniscript. So that's it about this session. I hope this helped. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.